We're live from Beverly Hills via Reel 1, and we are celebrating the imminent global release of the film, which is the largest day-and-date release, as we say in the trade, of any film in motion picture history across the globe. And I'm thrilled to welcome the mastermind behind this whole enterprise, Bryan Singer, who's devoted no less than 6 years of his life, is that right, to this X-Men franchise. Bryan, welcome. Say hello to everyone out there, all the X-Men fans out across the globe.
Hello, everyone.
We have our first question from our English chat room from Adam Baum, asking, do you have any advice for young filmmakers? You were a young filmmaker yourself once. Do you have any advice for the new generation?
Yeah, I think it's always helpful to find good collaborators, because especially early in your creative life, because if you can't find at least a few people to help work with you for free, then chances are it's going to be harder to convince other people to give you money later in the future.
Why do you think comic book movies are so successful? X-Men sort of started the ball rolling with the new wave of comic book films, but in the wake there have been Spider-Man and Daredevil, and they've all been tremendously successful. Why do you think that is?
I think X-Men is successful because the characters are accessible, and Bryan's has a good sense of radar about making the characters realistic and making sure that they feel like they live in the same world we live in and have the same kind of issues. So I think it's accessible. I think the comic book movies that are not over the top or campy are the ones that do well. And I think as long as we stay in touch with the audience that way, I think those movies will be successful.
How does it feel being known as Hollywood's nicest guy? I guess you're picking up the mantle from Tom Hanks, huh?
The nicest guy that claws people and slices and dices for a living. I've got to stop that rumor immediately, because nice guys never do action movies for very long. So I can see my career just sort of going out the window, as we say it. But my father would be very happy. He said, no matter what, always be polite. So there you go.
Did you envision that producing this movie that would become this massive physical production thing as well as becoming a massive box office hit?
No, no. Although when we were making the first movie, I will say that as we were developing the script, once we had the script, we really did not know how to make the movie. In essence, once you don't know how to make a movie until you make it, and when you're all done making it, you know how to make that movie. So I knew that we wanted all the powers, and you're dreaming up cool ideas for the powers, but when you actually start to film those powers and figure out how you're going to transcend them to screen, that's the tough part.
What got you started in acting?
What got me started in acting? I was a very shy individual when I was in my early teenage years, and my mother proposed that for me to get involved in a drama class so that I could actually kind of get rid of some of that shyness. And so I immediately started doing musicals and plays and things like that, and then I guess you could say that I was bit by the acting bug.
Do you personally identify with Rogue in any way?
Oh, completely, on so many levels, because basically the mutant metaphor, if you like, is for being an outsider and for being different from everyone else, or at least feeling as if you are. And I can completely understand that, because adolescence in itself is the biggest transition of your life, you know, because you're aware of it. You're aware that you're changing, and you're aware that people are going to be seeing you differently. And I think that, yeah, I've had so many times where I've felt, you know, so just like everyone must be staring at me and hating me or judging me. And most of the time it's in your head, but I think that's a huge part of Rogue's thing, is that she feels isolated, and I think everyone's felt that at some point.
And what was it like, what was the experience like wearing your costume, or lack of a costume?
Costume,
yes.
With quotation marks around it.
Yes.
It's very liberating. It's comfortable. There's nothing restrictive or binding about it. It actually, believe it or not, I don't feel nude at all. I feel very, very covered up. I've really been in denial about the nudity thing since day one. It's like I have to play tricks with my mind on myself so that I don't realize the, how difficult, exactly what's going on. It can be pretty daunting, all of it, but it's messy. The costume, the paint gets off on everything. It's very fragile, so it requires a lot of touching up and maintenance. And I had these 4 really nice ladies that did my makeup, and they were just, constantly touching, in your space, touching you up. It's like, it's crazy making, having somebody in your space for that many hours a day. So sometimes it was like, okay, I have an hour. Do I want to take a nap and endure another half hour of touch-ups, or should I just sit here like a stone and not require the touch-ups? It was, anyway, yeah, it was difficult.
What specifically attracted you to the role of Nightcrawler?
2 areas, really. One was the whole concept of the X-Men being outsiders, people who are ostracized from society, and the sort of message that it's important to understand other people's cultures and not just hate them because they're different. And also because I really wanted to fly through the air and kill people.
Did you ever want to be a superhero as a little kid?
No, I grew up in Holland. We didn't really understand the concept of superheroes. We were just normal people who had normal dreams.
And your dreams were?
I think silly things like I wanted to become a vet, or I wanted to become a pilot, or something different every week.
Not
I
fly
had no
around in a
idea.
cape or?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. What was it like to kiss Anna?
Kissing Anna was definitely a perk of the job. I mean, in any sort of scene like this, it's sort of weird because there's 30 people watching you do this, and on top of that, it was sort of an effect shot as well. So we'd have to stand next to each other like face to face for 15 minutes while they lit the scene. So it's it's always a little strange, but I think the scene turned out really well. It's a nice moment for the characters, so it was good.
It's funny. This same fan is asking, did you mess up, and so you can keep doing it again and again?
We had to do it again and again anyway, so I didn't necessarily mess up. But I was actually sick on the day, and I was afraid that I was going to give Anna my cold. So that was the one kind of awkward part of the day.
Is it more interesting to play outcast and say it is to just your everyday, normal boy next door?
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of the time boys next door exist in real life, you know what I mean? Like, who's like that? And I think everybody can relate to feeling like a freak or like an outsider, or something's wrong with them. And, it's just human, and it's interesting to manifest human behavior.
How is it to interpret a comic book character? How does that feel?
It's a little bit scary because you have sort of this fan base that's so incredibly rabid, I could say. I mean, they really are intense and are so dedicated to the comic book that you're afraid to sort of let them down or not follow the comic book to a T. But I think sometimes, like in my character, for instance, it works a little bit better if you sort of base your character on the comic book and then sort of, take a little bit of liberties with the character. For instance, I believe in the X-Men comics, my character is actually a cyborg rather than a mutant. And in the comic book, she's this enormous woman with like muscles and big shoulders and gigantic hands. I mean, they'd have to cast someone like, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, instead of myself for the comic book character. So, we were able to sort of sculpt her and mold her in a different way, how we saw fit for the film. It's kind of frightening to do that because I think that there are some real diehard X-Men fans who might not agree with that, but I think it looks amazing for the film, and once they actually see it in action, I think they'll be sold on it too.
Since we're on the subject, let's talk about being naked. There was a.
Do you mind turning off the camera for now?
There's a scene that in the film in which, as you referenced, the character is naked, but there was a practical joke played on you as well during that critical, emotional, and very critical scene that you did not expect.
only amongst very good friends could you play such a practical joke. And I came out actually like in a G-string, like a flesh-colored G-string at first. And then when I came to shoot the scene, I was naked. And rest assured, well, I was assured that the light was behind me and that you couldn't see anything. I demanded that if you could, that there be a little bit of CGI involved. But still, it's another story. But I came out and I said to the first AD, I jokingly berated him. I said, I demand a close set. Well, there's people everywhere. Jimmy Marsden's mother's here, for crying out loud, you know. I said, I demand a close set. And so he said, I'm very sorry, Mr. Jackman, I'll do that. So we came to shoot the first take. I ran up to camera. I was naked. I did my primal scream. As I ran down the end of the tunnel, the camera pans around with me, and there waiting for me were 30 girls from the set, including Jimmy Marsden's mum, all clapping and cheering. A couple of them had $5 notes, and you can imagine my dismay when I went to cover myself up as I had the claws on my hands. It was a little bit dangerous.
What attracts you to a particular script or film, be it X-Men or any other thing?
The best analogy I can come up with for that is that being attracted to a script is kind of like being attracted to a person as, you know, in either a romantic or a friendship kind of way. Either there's something about it that really clicks with you and just really, like, it feels like you just understand that material or that person or something, or you really don't. And it's really hard to, like, you know, to explain it in any other way. It's just certain things appeal for different reasons at different times.
Were you a comic book fan as a young person?
I was a comic book fan. I did not read the X-Men comics. I was aware of them, and I was aware of Spider-Man, but I did not read them until 9 years ago.
Do you see yourself returning to that world of smaller films at some point, or are you going to stay in this realm of franchise
I think
building?
so, to some degree. I think it's more and more difficult to make movies, to make smaller movies, particularly in today's marketplace. But there's always room as long as the story and the characters are engaging and interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't. You know, and also, you know, we shot The Usual Suspects in 35 days. And now we're taking 110 days, you know, and all this prep and all this to make an X. So it might be a vacation.
And do you think having actors from all over the world lends a certain spice to the movie?
Spice, I love that. I do. I think because in a way the X-Men are all outsiders and they don't fit in, and so to have people from all around the world, a group of actors who don't actually fit in, helps. Yeah, it helps to have a kind of to feel they're all different.
If you were to meet a mutant in real life, how would you react?
I'd be very curious. And I would want to see them demonstrate their powers.
What would you do if you had those powers in real life? Controlling flames.
Oh, those powers. Yeah. I thought they were asking me what other power. I think that somebody asked me that in an interview before. I think right now I'd pick a night and I'd light every single cigarette in the bars in New York City for one night and repeal the no smoking law for one evening. That's what I'd do.
Well, as long as it's just for one evening.
Just for one evening, I know. Check everybody.
Was it fun being without makeup for one scene?
Oh, otherwise known as my favorite 2 days during the movie?
Yes.
Yes, that was great. Why couldn't there have been more like that? Yeah, no, I do appear without the blue makeup for a scene, 2 scenes actually.
Are you keeping track of what's happening to the character in the comics nowadays? I mean, in between playing the role, or are you sort of put it aside and then get back to it when it's time to don the blades?
The last comic I read, the X-Men comic, was the Origin series, which is a fantastic 6-part series about the origin of Wolverine. See, me, it's all about me. So I read them because I get given them quite a bit, and I read them, and I have so much respect for them. I was not a comic book reader as a kid, but I have a lot of respect for the artwork and for the storylines, and X-Men as a comic book is one of the more interesting to me to read as an adult. I think there's a lot in it for adults.
And that is there going to be another X-Men movie, an X3,
Well,
X-Men 3?
we certainly want to have an X-Men 3. We're saving sets. We're saving pieces that we didn't get a chance to use, like the Danger Room. Yeah, we're talking about it, and hopefully the movie performs, and we'll see ourselves doing this again.
Would you consider doing more X-Men movies?
Well, obviously, my life's been very entwined in this universe, and if the circumstances were appropriate, and if the having had a really wonderful experience, particularly this time around, this film X2 is kind of the film I probably would have wanted to have made the first time, but didn't quite have the resources and yet could not have made if I hadn't done it the first time around. So in terms of another film, yeah, the ideas are here, and there are things layered into this film which lend themselves to the future. It's just a matter of time. Right now, there are things layered into this film which lend themselves to the future. It's just a matter of time. Right now, I'm focusing on the final days of finishing this one, believe it or not. But I think as of this morning, I was done.
So the movie now is officially done, even though we've screened it to press
well,
around the
we've
world.
screened, we've screened a near completed version of it to the press, but finally, I think,
100%.
knock on wood,
100%.
this morning was the historic morning, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for being with us and sharing your time with us.
Exciting.
Appreciate you being here.
I hope you all like the film, and I'll see you guys in France and England and Germany, a couple other places in the coming weeks.
Great. Thanks,
Thanks.
Brian.